Day after day, Madam Speaker, when the NDP asked the Premier why this government is closing hospitals, ERs, access clinics and rural EMS stations, the Premier responds, he's just doing what the NDP did first. And he's following a plan even the NDP didn't think was good enough. It's an indictment of this government that the only ideas they can come up with are the ones they have to pay for. Because, again, day after day, the PCs talk about the NDP failures, and then they boast that they're following in their footsteps. Why is the Premier following an NDP plan for healthcare at all?
The Honourable First Minister.
Perhaps the member needs to consult some experts himself, Madam Speaker, in question preparation. The fact of the matter is that, Madam Speaker, we are working very, very diligently on this side of the House to clean up the mess we inherited. It was an enormous and historic mess, not just in healthcare, but in social services, where we ranked dead last in terms of dealing with issues like child poverty. In terms of the mismanagement of money entrusted to the previous government for spending, Madam Speaker, we conducted a procurement review. Procurement modernization is an important thing that other governments have done, including the federal Liberal government the member constantly ascribes to support. The difference is we're adopting the recommendations that were given to us, and just, for example, in that category alone, we'll be saving over the next 4 years in procurement efficiencies over $180 million in accumulated savings. That's multiples of the cost of getting the advice, Madam Speaker. So when we listen to experts, as the previous government failed to do on health care, and we are doing, you get better results, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Second Opposition on a supplementary question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Premier likes to talk about courage when it comes to health care. It's not courageous to make people in need suffer. More than a year ago, this government cancelled the special drugs program so that hundreds of people were denied fair access to life-saving medications. And over a year ago, the Wait Times Task Force told the Premier they needed to slow down on healthcare changes because the government was shutting down facilities too fast. Is the rehiring of Dr. Peachy just an admission that this government does not have a plan on healthcare?
The Honourable First Minister.
Madam Speaker, the member's preamble reminds me of a buddy of mine that just whenever you ride with him refuses to ask for directions, even when he's totally lost, as the member clearly is. The member is lost, and he is now attacking us for asking for help and directions. When we inherited a system that was clearly disadvantaging Manitobans in so many ways, Madam Speaker, I think it would have been wrong for us not to ask for additional help. It would have been egotistical to assume that we had all the answers, Madam Speaker. There are experts in this province. There are experts at the front line. We've asked them for advice. Madam Speaker, we've received that advice. The members may not like it, but the frontline workers who gave us the advice that we followed do like it, Madam Speaker, and we're getting a better system because we're a government that's willing to ask for advice and to act on it, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Second Opposition on a final supplementary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've had many conversations with people who work in the healthcare system who are distressed and upset, not just because of change, but because this government is completely unable to explain where any of these changes are headed, because there is no end in sight. A nurse told me she could actually buy into this if there was any sense that there was a plan that was going to be followed and a destination. And a doctor told me that every doctor that she works with is miserable. She said it would actually be easier if this government was just honest and admitted that they don't want to spend the money to treat everyone. Will the Premier just admit what everyone knows to be true, that more and more Manitobans will have to go without care because this government refuses to provide it?
The Honourable First Minister.
It's a ridiculous and silly preamble, Madam Speaker, because of course we care about providing care and sooner. And that's why we are investing hundreds of millions of additional dollars in health care at the front line, and why we trimmed the system at the top, a very top-heavy administrative system, which placed tremendous additional costs, but not better results in front of Manitobans. So, Madam Speaker, the member needs to understand that his questions and their preamble show that he is on the side of the previous NDP government when he suggests we should go back in time to a period of time when the system failed Manitobans and when the philosophy seemed to be don't ask, don't listen, don't worry about results, just spend more money and hope. We're consulting with experts, Madam Speaker, frontline and internationally, and we're getting better results as a direct consequence of that.